SNAP is funded through the Department of Agriculture and is administered through the state of Hawaii, the Department of Human Services, and our division, BESD. It is a needs-based program, meaning that individuals and families that apply need to meet the financial requirements, and that's based on their income and their expenses and the number of individuals in a household. So we have the ability to apply online currently with the division. So in terms of application, and I think it's important, Annalisa, to mention how people do that. So they would have an opportunity to come into the local service centers or local processing centers to apply there with a paper application and drop that paper application off in a drop box at those locations. There are signs in each one of those locations that indicate where folks would drop an application. Also, if an individual has access to a computer and is online, they can, through the department website, they can obtain a fillable PDF, and they're able to then complete that application and submit it to our email address that's located inside the DHS website. There are a few things that I want to point out for those that are familiar with the program at all. And in particular, they are waivers that we've obtained through the federal government through FNS, which is the Food and Nutrition Services Program. That's the agency that assists us in administering SNAP. We've been given waivers so that an individual can drop off an application or submit it to our inbox without a signature. And typically that wasn't the case. It was not an acceptable application in the past, but during the pandemic it is. We simply will need to call the client or call a collateral contact to confirm that the client does sign. We also have been given a waiver to eliminate the need for an interview with the client. And typically in the past that was required for an application and for a determination to be made. So now we're able to eliminate that interview. If we have all of the information, we can make the determination right away.
What is the absolute kind of minimum income I should be making?
So as an example, if you had a family of two, if they made less than $27,365, they would be eligible for SNAP, at least a small amount. Mm-hmm. So, and then as their income diminishes from that, then they have more benefit that they're able to get on a monthly basis.
Some of the people that have written to us are concerned about where SNAP is actually accepted.
The way a resident or the way anyone who's a recipient of the program uses those federal funds is through an EBT card, which is effectively a card that has a personal identification number, so they're able to use that PIN at any grocer that has been approved by the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And so those clients are able to use that to buy food that is approved by the SNAP program, which doesn't include currently, it doesn't include any pre-prepared or hot foods, but it does include all of the normal grocery items that a person would purchase for their food preparation.
There's been kind of this conversation of stigma around people who receive, food stamps and these types of assistance programs. And I've just heard some nightmare stories from people that say that, they are looked down upon because they're using these types of services. What can you say about that?
Those who are first-time users of the SNAP benefit, they're going to look at it with a little bit of hesitation to use the benefit. Again, I'm seeing less stigma than what we would have originally thought, perhaps. And I'm seeing a great degree of, in particular now, a greater degree of understanding that everyone is in a tough spot right now. Those who are having to file for unemployment insurance benefits, those who are having to make ends meet through the financial assistance that we have in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. So it's a way to make ends meet. It's a way to make sure that your family has food. There shouldn't be any stigma, in particular during a pandemic time. This is a way so that our families are healthy. Some of the grocers are implementing the idea of a curbside ability to get their food to an elderly couple. For example, I have an elderly couple. and they might very well have SNAP benefits. I would like to make sure that they're able to enjoy those benefits without maybe going into the store. So they could call in, they could have the order prepared, they could pay for the food that they've ordered with a SNAP card, and then they could be met curbside and have somebody hand them the groceries. That's one of the things that we're really digging into now to see if we can leverage that opportunity through stores as often as possible.
And I know the big concern, we've seen with unemployment benefits is just this overwhelmed system. Do you anticipate with this increased demand that you'd be able to meet this kind of increased volume? There's a lot of frustration now that the UI system can't handle all of the applications, and there's not enough funding perhaps because tax dollars are low. Is there a concern that there's enough money for this program?
So there absolutely is. There's enough money for the program, but let me talk to you about it in two ways. One, in terms of the benefit dollars themselves, absolutely. No question about the continued funding for the benefit. The second part of your question, though, is one that we keep a very close eye on, and that is our ability to determine benefits in a timely and accurate fashion. And that's one of the things that I look at each and every day, in fact, many times during the day, to make sure that and we measure it in terms of days to disposition. If I receive an application in today, how long will it take me to determine eligibility? And currently, our eligibility determinations just prior to this interview, we are determining eligibility within 1 day and 7 hours of when the application is presented to us. It won't always be so rosy, but the reality is we have done everything possible to leverage our staff capacity across all of the islands to make sure that we're delivering our benefit determinations as quickly as possible. And let me also explain what that means in terms of a client who applies and then when they actually have an electronic benefits card in hand. What that translates into right now is currently, if I have 1 day in lead time for me to process an application, considering mail and considering the pickup of the mail, for an Oahu client, if I'm 1 day lead time in my system, that means an Oahu client typically will have their card in hand from the mail in about 4 days. I know that right now, if I go to neighbor islands, you could add 2 days onto that. Those would be business days. So we're very, very focused on how long does it take for me to process through our eligibility determination cycle? How long does it take in the mail? And how quickly can we determine benefits for the client? So we would, frankly, if you look around the country, most states struggle with meeting the standard federal guideline of 30 days. And our determination is that through Director Bonot, we've been made acutely aware of the fact that if you have a hungry family, having them wait the allowable federal time is not acceptable. But having them wait a day for us to process, to do our very best effort and make it happen as quickly as possible, we do. And I'm able to determine eligibility 80%, in fact, better than 80% of the time within 1 day.
Well, that's good news for a lot of the people that would really need this. So any other message, I guess, you would give to people who are considering this? It is available. It doesn't impact any other stimulus or other programs that they would be part of normally?
Absolutely. And I think the message we really want to deliver is the staff within my division are working really hard to make this happen. My staff are absolutely steadfast in their commitment to the applicants and the recipients of the state. And I would highly encourage anyone to apply. If you do have a shortfall in your income, if you have lost your job, if for any reason you feel that you need additional assistance, not only will they get a determination on whether they qualify for the SNAP benefit, but they also have other information in terms of community resources that we can provide. And the other one to mention is dialing 211. Through Aloha United Way, there's a wealth of information there that will give access to food bank and other community services that folks might need.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you, Annalisa.